Opening a corporate bank account in Hong Kong is not an easy task. While Hong Kong is one of the biggest financial hubs in the world, it is incredibly traditional in its processes. So when it comes to opening a business bank account in Hong Kong, there are a few things any entrepreneur should know about to save on the time and headaches to come. This video is brought to you by Statrys. Avoid dealing with the headaches of big banks in Hong Kong for your small business's needs by opening a business account with Statrys instead. Statrys business accounts are completely digital and accessible online, with no requirements to show up in Hong Kong to apply, and come packed with features that big banks typically reserve for Fortune 500 customers. Check out the link in the description below to get started today, and if this isn't for you, you can still like and subscribe to our channel to learn more about the financial world that we live in. Business accounts specifically for businesses are sometimes called a business bank account, corporate bank account, or commercial bank account. A business bank account is a bank account opened under the name of your company. And this point is extremely important. First, you must use the correct terminology when applying for the account. Referring to yourself as the account holder at any point in time during the application process can easily raise red flags for the bank and have it thrown out. Secondly, too many entrepreneurs are carrying out their business on behalf of their company using their personal bank account instead. This is common when a business starts off as a personal venture but then suddenly grows, but the founder has not yet taken the time to incorporate before needing a better banking option. This is a recipe for disaster, especially when it comes time to reporting corporate accounting and taxes. Normally, a sole proprietor of a business can get away with doing business under a personal account if there are no partners or employees to report to the government. When a business eventually grows, however, it's likely that there will be a need for investors or employees to come in and help. Paying these individuals is near impossible or sometimes outright illegal if your company does not have a bank account of its own. So, when it comes to applying for a corporate bank account in Hong Kong, be sure you're indeed incorporated and that it reflects that in your application. Any confusion on who the owner of the account is will have the application thrown out immediately. The first thing to do is to complete the bank account form provided by the bank. Most banks have this information available online, meaning that you can download it and have it filled out before you can visit the branch. Different banks have different requirements, but the list of documents usually consists of the following. The first is a resolution by the board of directors. The purpose of this resolution is to approve the bank account opening and give one person the authority to handle the application with the bank. The usual practice is to provide power to one of the directors of the company. The second is the establishment documents. These are documents provided that your company was duly incorporated and validly registered in Hong Kong. For a Hong Kong company, this includes the Certificate of Incorporation, a valid business registration certificate, and the Articles of Association. A corporate charter is also needed. A corporate charter is a chart showing the shareholding and management structure of the company. This chart must present on one page who the directors, the shareholders, and the ultimate beneficial owners of the company are. It must also show the percentage of ownership of each shareholder in the company. The next is ID documentation. You need to provide a copy of the ID documents, like a passport, ID card, or driver's license of the directors, shareholders, and the ultimate beneficial owners. Next document that is usually required for most bank account opening, no matter where you are in the world, is a proof of residence. This can be a utility bill or bank statement that represents the directors, shareholders, and the ultimate beneficial owners of the company. The evidence of residency must indicate the residence, address, and usually be dated no more than 3 months ago for each individual shareholder. The next document that a bank will ask for is a business plan, a simplified business plan explaining the company's business, and that gives projections of the company's expenses and revenues for the coming 12 months. A certificate of incumbency or certificate of good standing might be an optional requirement for the bank for offshore companies. This is only relevant to companies who lack a presence in Hong Kong but are still registered business in the jurisdiction. Typically, some of the documents must be certified by a lawyer, a public notary, a certified public accountant, or a local Hong Kong company secretary. All of these professionals will likely charge you a fee for their services. So, you should check with the bank that is satisfied with the content and the format of the documents first before arranging for its certification. This will save you the cost of paying twice. If a business is located outside Hong Kong, it's still perfectly legal for a company registered outside of Hong Kong to apply for a business bank account in Hong Kong. As well, it's perfectly possible for non-residents to apply for one as well. However, banks will often be reluctant to open a bank account for non-Hong Kong registered companies or non-Hong Kong residents. Put yourself in the shoes of the bank. Why would a company with no presence in Hong Kong need a business bank account there? Approving a bank account is especially questionable when the company is from an exotic location known for its lack of transparency, like Russia, Iran, North Korea, and so on. If you have business opportunities in the region, you may consider coordinating with the company secretary to set up in Hong Kong already, or have one of your shareholders become a resident. This would certainly make your life much easier with the banks and leave you more time to focus on your business. When it comes to opening a business bank account with a large bank, many entrepreneurs have asked whether they can apply online. The answer is sadly no. It's simply impossible to complete the entire process with a traditional bank in Hong Kong entirely online. There are a handful of banks that allow you to submit the application form and documents online first, but you'll still need to meet them in person in Hong Kong to finalize the process. Typically, at least one of the company's directors must visit the bank. Things are changing little by little, as in 2020, the launch of a new virtual banking license in Hong Kong has led to new types of online-only banks to open in the city. While these virtual banks are indeed still developing their suite of services, it does go to show that there is hope on the horizon for future online applications in the banking sector in Hong Kong. It's impossible to tell the exact cost of opening a corporate bank account in Hong Kong. Even giving a range is difficult because the fee policies of each bank are far from being easy to understand, and every bank runs a wildly different fee table from the next. On top of fees, to maintain the account, businesses need to keep a minimum balance in the account. Generally speaking, it's around 10,000 to 12,000 Hong Kong dollars, as well as paying a monthly maintenance fee. Normally, a new business's company secretary is often used to expedite the account opening process with the banks in Hong Kong. However, this does add to the cost of opening an account, sometimes running in the thousands of dollars range. From the moment you contact the bank until the account is ready for its first deposit, you should expect several days or even several months before your business account is ready and up and running. This is usually depending on how well prepared you and the bank are for the application. It all starts with meeting a bank representative who will ask you to complete application forms and to submit certain documents and information about your company. Your application will then go through a review. The review takes on average a minimum of 2 weeks, but don't be surprised if it drags on for even a few months, during which time you may be asked to provide more documents and explanations at any given time. Again, all of this is subject to how much it would cost to expedite the process with a local Hong Kong company secretary. Finally, the process ends with either a yes or a no. And if the bank says no, the banks will often not give a specific reason for the decision. Assuming a company gets a yes with its business bank account application, you might start wondering whether or not the whole process was worthwhile. Here are the perks a Hong Kong corporate bank account gives compared to typical corporate accounts elsewhere. The first is obviously you will be able to manage your bank account affairs through a digital platform of the bank. However, user-friendliness and features vary considerably from one platform to another, so it's worthwhile checking out the platform before applying for a bank account at any given bank to avoid any surprises, and we suggest that you speak to fellow peers in your industry to see what their experience has been with other banks. The other one is multi-currency accounts. Usually these are reserved for larger companies, but a multi-currency account in Hong Kong is usually quite typical. With Hong Kong being a financial hub in Asia, most business bank accounts are multi-currency. This feature is pretty handy if your company receives and makes payments in different currencies, notably because it will help you save money on Forex commissions. If by this point you're wondering why it's so difficult to open a business bank account in Hong Kong, it's largely thanks to international criminal activities like that of Pablo Escobar or the Panama Papers situation, because almost every country in the world has now worked together to impose strict compliance rules on banks. In short, banks must know who their clients are and to monitor their transactions. As you can imagine, keeping track of every single client and every single payment is undoubtedly a good thing. However, as these compliance rules get more strict and complex every year, applying them is increasingly costly for the banks, where they also face a risk of multi-million-dollar fines in case something does indeed go wrong. In all, this means that small business accounts become less profitable for banks, and therefore banks are less keen to make the process easy for SMEs to open bank accounts. This trend isn't specific to Hong Kong, yet Hong Kong has become one of the countries where it's most challenging to open a bank account because there are very few banking options outside the big banks. Small business account application failure rates are so bad that Hong Kong local regulators have even asked the banks to address the issue. There is some good news, however. Neobanks are one of the newest trends in financial services in recent years, where banks invest in software-first approaches to banking rather than account products. Virtual banks are a type of neobank, but they are also options for business accounting that are not banks at all, in which payment software stores your money in what's called a segregated bank account. Statrys is one of these solutions. Open a business account with Statrys today, and your new small business can get access to a business account in 11 currencies and FX services completely online. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and thanks again for watching.